Hi guys, and welcome to my review for the AUNE IR300. This is the company's latest IEM. AUNE, not necessarily known for a company that makes IEMs, but rather a company that provides good sources. The IR300, however, much like the Jasper, which I also was able to find the unit, which is over there, are two IEMs which I think perfectly embody the company's philosophy, the company's sound style, and of course they are well implemented. They are both well done. Obviously the Jasper has been around for quite a while. The IR300 is not the latest. There's a big time separating both of them, but they both reflect the philosophy, like I said, and the desire to give products which are properly designed, properly implemented. Anyway, before I continue, I just want to say thank you to AUNE. They actually provided me this unit, so I thank them for making this possible, and obviously bringing this information to you guys, which I'm sure you will enjoy. Anyway, talking about the unboxing, I mean, simple box, nothing really special. In the back we have some information, 121 decibels of sensitivity, 32 ohm impedance, nothing out of the ordinary. Inside, again, very simple. The IEM brings this carrying case, which it's a little bit of a pity. I would have liked to have seen a proper case like we've seen in the Jasper, something a little bit more solid, which dignifies ultimately the IEM. Brings a good selection of tips, brings some O-rings for the back adjustment nozzle that we have, brings the other exchangeable termination for the plug, 3.5, cleaning tools, some tips, brings everything basically that you would that you would require, let's put it that way. So accessories wise, I think it's well done, it's well put together, and it's there in the accessories where we find the main reason or the attraction point of the IR300, which is what the IR300 comes with these adjustable nozzles, which again, nothing new there, but what is new, yes, is that they actually do work, which is something that not always is the case. Sometimes we have some IEMs that they bring all these adjustments, but they don't necessarily do anything. But as you can see, there we go. So we have the silver, we have the black, and then we have these gold ones here, which are for the back, which I'll show it to you now in a second. And these gold ones, as you can see, are fully enclosed. There's nothing there. While the other nozzles, obviously the nozzles, they're different tuning profiles. On the actual IEM itself, I've got the gold nozzles, which focus. I've got the gold nozzles, which I'll show to you now, and I've got the back ones, which are open. Okay, so let's just put this away so I don't lose them. All right, IEM itself. Nice cable, really nice cable. No need to exchange it, no need to take it out. Exchangeable termination, like I said. The IEM itself is a solidly built metal shell, really nicely built. As you can see, it's got that other gold back nozzle adjuster, whatever you want to call it, which has got that hole, and obviously, yes, it will confer two different sounds. And the front nozzle is the gold nozzle, as I mentioned, or the brass nozzle, as you want to, whichever you want to call it. All right, so there we go. Now, fit, perfect, nothing to be said there. Fits beautifully. The IEMs have got a nice weight to them. They feel extremely premium. Honestly, they feel really premium. They look the part, they look the business. Nothing to be said there. Honestly, the only criticism, and it's a mild one, but I think one that should be interpreted as a solid criticism and not something which is in any way a negative criticism, is I would have liked to have seen a nice case, something like what the Jasper has, which is this is the case for the Jasper. But look, it is what it is. It's not a deal breaker in any way. In terms of price, we're talking about an IEM which costs anywhere between $150 and $200, depends on where you're getting it. So it's priced well in that mid segment, okay, where we have an infinite number of other phenomenal IEMs. I've mentioned a few already before in my previous review for the Cookie TI for my Basso, but we have the iBasso, we have the several offerings from Tanstrom, we've got the Moondrop Cadence, we've got the Fire FD15, we've got the Twistuda, the Woodnote. There's a whole bunch of IEMs which are in that price bracket, which are phenomenal IEMs. The SimGot, the Format, like I said, a lot of IEMs that 150 to 200, just over 200 price point. and that's where the AUNE is segmented into, and that's why I say I would have liked a proper carrying case. It would have been a nice thing to have seen. Now, talking about what we want to know, which is what is the sound of the IR300, what is it all about? Well, let's say that the IR300 offers this versatility of the nozzles, which is not a gimmick, which is sometimes what we see happening. No, it's something that does work. They do work. They do offer 3 different tunings, 3 different styles of sound, and that, I think, is the main thing that that I should start talking about. So it's got this this really rich tuning with any one of the nozzles, more so with the gold and with the black. But it's got this rich tuning with really amazing bass performance. The bass on the IR300 is something else, but never leaving behind the treble, both in energy and in quality. I mean, you could argue that with the silver nozzle, maybe it might be a little bit too forward, a little bit too bright, but honestly, like I said, you have the ability to adjust it whichever way you want. And that's where obviously the magic of the IR300 is. You can adjust the IR300 to sound the way you want it to sound. So let's start with what the filters do and what they and what type of sound they give us. With the default brass or gold nozzle, we get this rounded bass presentation. It's very musical. There's the right amount of upper treble energy, but the sub bass and the bass extension is where it shines. It gives the mid bass a nice, quick, well balanced performance, and it's like the best way I can put the performance with the gold nozzle is that we have an organic, very lush bass kind of performance there. Okay, the mids on the IR300 or mid or warm, they're balanced. And that they have just the right amounts of thickness and again of organic. The musicality aspect is extremely high in that department. The detail up top is really good. It's detailed. It's capable of good detail retrieval. Separation is impressive. So detail retrieval, resolution, all of that is pretty impressive actually. At times to the point where you actually question, is this just a single dynamic? But at the same time, it's airy. It's got this. It's never overwhelming. It's a very good treble presentation without ever being overwhelming or harsh or anything of the sort. Again, let me say, I would say that with maybe the silver, it might not be as much. In terms of its technical capabilities, soundstage, it's wide, it's open, good imaging capabilities. Where I think it shines the most is, yes, in how big the sound stage is on the one hand, without a doubt, but also in the timbre and the tonality. The timbre and tonality of the IR300, at least for me, is really good. It has always got this very nice kind of comfort food style of presentation. But it's at the same time still detailed enough to satisfy any demands that I think most of us will have. And in any way, and it's never ever does it come across as a presentation which is anything but wanting to be audiophile. When we go for the silver nozzle, the bass is slightly reduced, okay, very slightly, but we have this emphasis on the upper mids being a little bit more present, and this can make sometimes the sound be a little bit more. I'm not going to say intense, but a little bit more overly energetic. That in my particular case, I just preferred the brass nozzle, the gold nozzle. I liked more the balance. As for the black filter, it gives a deeper presentation, or a warmer presentation in the bass and in the mids, with slightly less treble energy, and so the sound becomes a little bit darker, but still incredible sound. I mean, be it the gold or be it the black nozzle, I'm happy with either one of them. The area where we sense that there's a biggest difference is in terms of the soundstage. With the brass nozzle, the soundstage is large. It's a big presentation. With the black nozzle, it just closes down ever so slightly. It becomes a little bit more of an intimate presentation. As for the back covering, the back tube, if you want to call it, open or closed, there's a very minor effect of the sound. It is noticeable if, yes, you do know a track very well, and you really are paying attention. I would say that with the closed, it maybe tightens up a little bit better. So with maybe the black nozzle, it might be an interesting way to just maybe fetch a little extra more detail up top, while maintaining more that warmer presentation that the black nozzle offers. While with something like the silver, I would definitely use the open, never the closed. I think the closed will make the sound overly clinical. Ultimately, myself, I prefer the open back part with the like I said, the gold or the brass nozzle, or then the black. That's how I prefer it. So, we can kind of say that the sound that the IR300 offers is, I mean, it's a presentation that will, I think, do well with most genres, especially because of this versatility that you have with the nozzles, and it strikes an amazing balance, for me at least, between being very musical but at the same time having a high level of technical performance. I mean, I don't want to jump ahead too much here, but for example, when I was listening to this, I was also listening to the Cookie TI, and if you guys saw my review of the Cookie TI, I praised it very well and I liked it very much. But one is not better than the other. Let's get that out of the way straight away. But you notice that with the IR300, there's a more elegant way of doing everything. You don't notice it easily, and you have to be paying attention. Yes, you notice, but while with the Cookie TI, everything is more physical. Both of them are phenomenal IEMs. Let's get that straight out of the way. I mean, both of them are really, really good IEMs, be it the Cookie TI or be it the IR300. One is just a little bit more elegant, the IR300, the other one just a little bit more physical, but both have their place. One is not better than the other. I want to emphasize that, okay? I'm just trying to jump in your head a little bit, obviously, but trying to give you guys an idea of what they are all about. As for what I brought out here, I brought out IEMs, which I think perfectly or more closely embody the neutrality or the desire to have this musical organic neutrality presentation that the AUNE offers. And the thing about the AUNE is it is so capable because of all these tuning nozzles that although some of the IEMs I'm going to mention might sound absurd to be comparing them, when you start playing around with the nozzles, and basically what you're doing is you're EQing the IR300 in a physical manner. When you start playing around with the nozzles, then you will understand that for me to say that I find it similar to the FD15 at times, or that I find it similar to the Kima 2, is not as absurd as it might initially sound, because that's the reality. And again, let me say, I've brought out, and I actually did listen back and forth, but I just decided for these ones, there's also similarities to be made, for example, between the IR300 and the Tantrum Fowler, and also some similarities with for example, even the MK12, or the Tourist from IDs. But I think these two were the ones that best embodied or best came close to giving us a sound which is very much the IR300, but by other brands. And to that extent, and jumping ahead now here to the FD15 from Fire, it's we know that it's described as an IEM that has this balanced, warm, neutral kind of presentation. The mids are without a doubt where it shines, and then it has this very well executed bass that it's not overpowering, especially when you consider it's got a 13.5 or 13.8 millimeter driver, so it's got a big driver, and then just the right amount of extension. And depending on how you configure it here, and in the configuration of the black, for example, nozzle on the IR300 with the open back plate, the sound that I was getting here was very similar to the FD15. I would say perhaps just a little bit more emotional, a little bit more slightly more well executed bass, a little bit more controlled. It's similar, but just a smidge more control. Also, you know, a little bit extra detail up top is still, even using the black nozzle. With the brass nozzle, definitely it's got a little bit more twinkles and sparkles up top compared to the A15. But overall, the sound is very, very similar, very similar. That there isn't a lot of differences. And basically what I'm saying is, if you like the FD15, you will definitely like the IR300. That's without a, you know, that's not an if or maybe or no. It's definitely going to happen. The other one that I did bring out here was the Kima 2, and you guys will know that, and this is actually the latest version of the Kima 2. You guys will know that I've always been a big fan of the Kima 2. I think this is an incredible IEM. If there's any criticism to be made to it, is the fact that it doesn't have the ability to exchange its nozzles, which is a pity, because if it did, it would I think it would really make it a very dangerous contender in this price point. But you know, considering this just got one tuning, and when I compare that one tuning with, for example, again the brass nozzle, I'm going to use the brass nozzle this time around. The similarities are actually quite interesting. Mids are very equal, and if it's a song that doesn't necessarily have a lot of sub bass, then you won't see the AUNE, the IR300 edging out the Kima. So if it's vocals, female vocals, they come out very similar. It's with a slightly more bass music. You know, let's go. I didn't want to mention EDM, but fine. If it's with EDM or something like that, then yes, that you will notice that there's a little bit more bass presence here on the AUNE. The bass is just a little bit more richer, a little bit more fuller. But again, the similarity between the sound of the Kima 2 and the AUNE is pretty impressive. And you know, again, I want to sound like I'm repeating myself, but the fact that you can play around with the nozzles and with the back plate here on the AUNE does allow it to really be tailored and adjusted to sound very similar to a lot of other IEMs. That's you know, that's ultimately the reality. And then finally, obviously, I had to bring out the Jasper, an IEM that, again, I think, yes, okay, it was $300 back in its day, expensive by today's terms, especially when you consider that for $300 and lower you're getting a you know, arguably better performance. But when you compare it here with the IR300, the Jasper is a really good IEM, but the Jasper maybe suffered from a sound which was at times overly forward, overly mid-focused, and it could run the risk, depending on what tips you were using and what source, to sound just a little bit overly clinical, a little bit sterile. And in that extent, for example, if I have to put here the silver nozzle on the IR300, I think that's the way you will find the most similarities. If I have the IR300 nozzle, the IR300 with the silver nozzle and with the open or back or closed back plate, doesn't really matter, the sound that I get out of the IR300 will be very much reminiscent of the Jasper. So if you were someone that enjoyed the Jasper, definitely that configuration here will yield you a sound that is very much like that. 1 second here, I'm trying to find the graph. There we go. Take this one out, take this out, and put here the Jasper, which I believe is this one, exactly. With the silver and open backplate, the sound of the IR300, as I said, is very similar to the Jasper. I would say, however, that it does have the ability to scale slightly better than the Jasper scales. And I would also add to that that even being a tuning that is maybe a little bit more focused on being clinical and technically orientated, it does do a better job of still maintaining a higher degree of musicality as compared to the Jasper. However, and you know, considering that we have this adjustability capability on the IR300, I feel that with the brass nozzle or with the black nozzle, but with the brass nozzle, the performance that you get of the IR300 is significantly more satisfying than the performance that the Jasper was ever capable of doing. Not taking anything away from the Jasper was and is still a phenomenal IEM, and obviously will have people that will enjoy its sound very much. But the versatility that the IR300 offers, where you can get what that was capable of doing, and also still, if you want, adjust the sound to be more tailored to a different tuning, to a different genre of music, makes this a significantly more sensible purchase. This is more kind of focused for one type of music, very niche. This one is way more open to different genres of music, and I think that's the main thing you have to take away. I believe the main consideration here to be had with the AUNE 300 is that it's a single DD that can genuinely change its personality with without using an EQ, and doing it in a physical manner. So you're using hardware to adjust the sound, and this gives us a richer, a more engaging presentation that is just more realistic. It's kind of look at it. If I'm going to make an analogy with cars, look at it this way. Some IEMs, you could say that they are like some cars that you just do some reprogramming, some electronic reprogramming, and it changes their character. You get more power, this and that. The AUNE, the IR300, is like an engine that uses carburetors, and that by changing the settings of the jets on the carburetors, by adjusting slightly or by changing completely the cam profile, the camshafts, by changing the exhaust, you get different styles of performance, different ways of performance. It just and that performance is more organic. I think that's the best way to ultimately describe the IR300. It's an IEM capable of a very organic type of presentation, using traditional methods of adjustment, as opposed to just going to an EQ or a DSP, which is more and more becoming the norm. Anyway, guys, let me just quickly show you the graphs and we'll wrap this up. Okay, let's talk now graphs. So this is the graph for the where is it? There we go. Okay, this is the graph for the AUNE, the IR300 with the brass nozzle, and as you can see, nice smooth presentation. There's no bleeding to the mids, trust me, it just sounds phenomenal. Nice slow pinna gain, picking it close to 4 kHz, which is a little bit unusual, but it just works. It just gives this very lush bass performance, very full, very engaging, very sub bass orientated, kind of 10 dBs of gain to the bass, a little bit more than that for the pinna gain, but it just works very nicely and it just sounds really, really good. By no means, however, is this a bass head IEM. Let's make that clear, okay? This is about high quality bass in good quantities. This is with the silver nozzle, and you can see there's a slight drop in the bass, or maybe it's the fact that you have more of a forward upper mid presentation that makes the bass sound a little bit thinner, okay? And then this is with the black nozzle, which basically maintains the bass. It's the same as the brass, it just lowers a little bit the intensity there of the mids. Be it now the open, which is what you're seeing, the open backplate, or the closed backplate, the difference is about a dB, just over a dB of difference. There isn't a big difference in terms of graphic presentation. The difference is, however, slightly noticeable when you listen to it, but again, it's not a dramatic difference. You will pick up on it if you know a song really well, and if you're careful, you will pick up on it, but it's not a dramatic difference. Anyway, I'll just leave now here the graph for the IR300 with the brass nozzle. Comparing it with, and let's go now here to the AUNE Jasper. Okay, this is the AUNE Jasper. As you can see, compared to the brass nozzle of the IR300, there's a significant difference. The Jasper is definitely an IEM which is more mid-focused. I mean, you can see where this 100 Hz point corresponds to. It's about 1.6 kilohertz. So definitely this is the focus. This is where the star of the show is. But it also can make the Jasper, like I said, sound just overly clinical, overly cold at times. While the IR300, 100 Hz corresponds to over 2 kilohertz. The balance, it's a completely different IEM. Besides the fact that you've already got more bass, it just sounds warmer, more lush. Now, comparing the IR300 with the silver nozzle, so this is the silver nozzle IR300 with the Jasper, you can see there the similarities are way more. And especially if I have to even use the open back plate, it comes down even further, and they become extremely similar. So that's why I was saying, if you are a fan of, let me actually make this here red so you guys can see the biggest difference. So if the Jasper is in the red and the silver is the IR300 with the silver nozzle, if I was to say which of the settings corresponds or is more equal to the Jasper, definitely the silver nozzle on the IR300 gives that presentation which is going to please the more, let's say, clinical sounding lovers. Okay, so that's that. The black nozzle, I've showed it to you guys. As you can see, the black nozzle even has some reminiscences here, if I have to be totally fair, of something like, let me just quickly show you here. And even when you listen to it, there is definitely a high degree of reminiscence to, where is it? Apologies, I should have actually put it out here for a quick earlier of this. And if you guys don't know what this is the Venture Electronics, the UA Guangxi. So you can say that the IR300 can be made to sound very much like the Guangxi. And I think that again is already praising it quite highly, because if it's capable of sounding that way, and I'm sure that most of us will agree that the Guangxi does play phenomenally well. It is an incredible sounding IEM, and we have an IEM here that by virtue of the tuning capabilities that the nozzles and the back plates or the back modules offer can give you that kind of sound. I think that's already a winner in my book. Okay, the other one that I mentioned that is similar is the let me just go back to the brass nozzle, is the not the Ibaso, where did I put it? I had it here just a second ago. Is the no, where is it now, guys? Apologies, I should have. Okay, comparing it now with the Duno Kima 2, trust me, they sound more similar than what you would think. This bass difference here is only really noticeable if the song does have it. Otherwise, there's a very high level of balance, of coherence in the sound of either one of them. It's maybe with the black nozzle on the IR300 you can get even it to be more similar to the Kima, but like I said, I was really impressed with the Kima 2 versus the IR300 with the brass nozzle. Okay, so very, very similar. And finally, with the FD15, and with the FD15 I'm actually going to bring out the black nozzle. These two sound way more similar than what you would think. Trust me. The difference is that yes, there is a little bit more energy here in the case of the IR300 with the black nozzle, it does. Yes, you do notice there's a little bit more detail, a little bit more polished detail, without a doubt. I think the biggest difference here is that the IR300 seems to do things in a more polished manner, and I think it's down to the fact that the driver that they're using is possibly a better quality driver than the one used on the FD15. I think that's the main reason. The FD15 I think sounds incredible. It is a very solid sounding IEM without a question. It has a good driver, but it hasn't got let's say a standout driver, while the IR300 does have a standout driver. And that's it, guys. I think that's basically it. I think I've covered it, everything. AUNE IR300, incredible IEM, better than its predecessor, let's put it that way. More versatile, can be made to sound like a number of other IEMs with relative ease. And definitely another very solid IEM that I would even go as far as saying that probably not probably, it definitely will make that group of IEMs that I have, which are my top single DDs. I'm trying to more and more make that top group become just top 5 or top 6 at the most. So there are going to definitely be some IEMs that are going to have to come down. But it definitely is top 10, let's put it that way. But I'm gonna have to reassess and see which will now become my top 6, let's put it that way, or top 5, probably do a top 5, so I go along the lines of what everybody else does, let's put it that way, and then I have my top 10. Although, look guys, trust me, any one of those IMs that is in that group are really good. And of course, as I've said countless times, this is my experience, this is what I hear, what I feel. As always, like and subscribe, and yeah, take care.